When the Spurs won the number 2 pick in the 2025 draft lottery, everyone in San Antonio could feel it. Something big was about to change. That pick turned into Dylan Harper, a 19-year-old guard from Rutgers who already carried huge expectations. But from the moment he showed up to his first press conference, he didn't look nervous at all. He was very calm, confident, and he looked ready for the NBA. When someone asked him about the team missing the playoffs for 6 straight years, Harper just smiled and said, "That's gonna change really quick."
I mean, that's going to change really quick. That's going to change quick.
And you could tell he really meant the statement. He wasn't just trying to aura farm. Harper's got basketball in his blood. His dad is Ron Harper, a 5-time NBA champion. So Dylan grew up around pros. You can see it in the way that he plays. He's always composed, always aware of what's happening on the floor. He's big for a guard around 6'5", 6'6", with a long 6'10" wingspan. And he combines his strength with really good vision. At Rutgers, he showed what he can do. In his freshman year, he averaged about 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, which is pretty wild for a first-year player. He even had back-to-back games scoring 36 and 37 points. It was that kind of consistency that caught a lot of attention from scouts. The Spurs knew right away what they were getting. Harper isn't the type of player who needs the ball all the time. He knows how to fit in within a system. He's the perfect complement for Wemby, because while Wemby dominates the inside, Harper can control the pace, get him the ball in good spots, and still score when needed. He can play on or off the ball. He can defend, and it just makes the game easier for everyone else. When he arrived in San Antonio, Harper talked a lot about how much he respected the Spurs culture. Seeing legends like Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Coach Pop around the gym made him realize how special the place was. "It feels like family," he said. "There's a reason there's so much hype around Harper. He's got real skill. Scouts loved his footwork, body control, and how well he finishes at the rim with either hand. Yes, he's still working on his 3-point shot and consistency and cutting down on turnovers, but he's improving very fast. And so far, all of his qualities have been on display as he has helped the Spurs dominate their opponents. After years of rebuilding and missing the playoffs and stacking draft picks, San Antonio have come out hot, sitting near the top of the Western Conference. Of course, a big reason for that has been Victor Wembanyama. The 21-year-old phenom is already playing at an MVP level, averaging around 30 points, 15 rebounds, and nearly 5 blocks a game. I mean, the guy's doing it all. He's scoring, defending, and just making life miserable for opponents on both ends of the floor. But it's not just Wemby carrying the load. Pause. The young talents around him are starting to shine, and none more than rookie guard Dylan Harper. Even though he's 19 years old, he's already proving that he can be a long-term piece next to San Antonio superstar. In the win over the Miami Heat, Harper dropped 13 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists while shooting an efficient 5 for 10 from the field and 2 for 5 from deep. He's not putting up massive numbers just yet, but you can already see his impact every time he steps on the floor. Throughout his first few games, Harper is averaging 14.4 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 4.6 assists per game. That's pretty impressive for a rookie who's only playing around 26 minutes a night. What's great about him is that he's not forcing anything. He plays under control, he makes the smart passes, and picks the spots. The game just seems to naturally come to him. And Harper's poise is what really stands out the most. He plays with confidence, but he never rushes. He knows when to push the pace, when to set up the offense, and when to just let Wemby take over. He can score from the wing, but he can create for others. And he holds his own defensively. The numbers back that up too. When Harper's on the court, the Spurs offense is better. They have a 127.2 offensive rating and a plus 20.1 net rating when he plays. When he's off, those numbers drop to 108 and only plus 3.5. That's a pretty massive difference that a 19-year-old is making. And he's only just getting started. With De'Aaron Fox out, Harper and fellow young guard Stephon Castle have stepped in and have run the show beautifully. Once Fox returns, San Antonio's backcourt will be even deeper, and Harper's earned enough trust to continue to keep getting big minutes. If the Spurs keep playing like this, they can easily head back to the playoffs for the first time since 2019. And while Wemby will rightfully get most of the attention, it's clear that Dylan Harper is a huge part of what's making this team click. He's not a star yet, but it's easy to see that he's on his way there. The draft really changed everything for the Spurs. Everybody knew how the 2025 draft was going to start. Cooper Flagg from Duke was the obvious number 1 pick. pick. There was no surprises there. But as soon as the Spurs landed the number 2 pick, it was clear who they had their eyes on, and it was Dylan Harper. Scouts had been calling Harper the best guard prospect in years. In a different draft class, he might have been the number 1 pick. He's that good. Big for a guard, but very smart, confident, and somebody who's built for the modern NBA. When draft night came, the Spurs didn't waste a second. Teams around the league tried to call them to change their mind. The Phoenix Suns reportedly offered Kevin Durant. The 76ers called about moving up. Other teams threw in trade ideas with shooters and veterans, but the Spurs GM Brian Wright didn't even blink. The Spurs weren't chasing quick wins or a quick playoff push. They were focused on building the next great team and building it the right way. That's always been the San Antonio style. Wright even explained after the draft, saying we don't just draft to fill a hole, we want players who fit long term. And Harper, well, he checks every box. This is a young kid who's very humble, has a high upside, and is very coachable. He wasn't coming in to dominate the ball or demand the spotlight. He was coming in to fit within the system, to grow, and to eventually lead this team. The Spurs also added the Arizona forward Carter Bryant at number 14, a solid two-way wing that they couldn't believe was still available at that point in the draft. But Harper was still the star of the night. His selection felt like the end of a rebuilding phase and the start of something real. For Harper, it was a dream in the making. From his standout high school days to carrying Rutgers in college, he'd always played under pressure. But being the number 2 pick meant something even bigger. It meant that the Spurs were handing him a part of their future. And like I stated earlier, when he was reminded at his first press conference that San Antonio hadn't made the playoff in 6 years, he didn't dodge the question. He smiled and gave a cheeky answer. And it's clear from their performances that that wasn't empty talk. It was real belief. It showed that both Harper and the Spurs were on the same page. Both the player and the organization are focused on growth, team culture, and playing the long game. Harper isn't just here to get buckets and to look good on Instagram Reel. He's here to elevate the players around him, especially Wemby, because together, this is the start of a new era in San Antonio. The 2025 draft wasn't just another night in Spurs history, it was a turning point. And by picking Dylan Harper and refusing to take shortcuts, San Antonio have doubled down on their identity, which has always been about patience, development, and a long-term vision. And for Harper, this means one thing: he's a part of something bigger now. The Spurs didn't just draft a guard, they drafted their guard. Harper was always going to be a Spur, especially when you look at the fact that San Antonio have always built their teams around patience and a long-term vision. From Tim Duncan to Tony Parker to Kawhi Leonard, every dynasty began with draft night. Harper's arrival feels like the next phase of that tradition. The comparison everyone in San Antonio is talking about isn't just Dylan Harper to Tony Parker, it's also to the dynamic partnership that Parker had with Duncan that made the Spurs unstoppable. Now, Harper isn't Tony Parker. They are two very different point guards, but there are some similarities. Harper brings the same blend of composure and vision. He's already shown that he can slow the game down, see plays ahead of time, and read defenses like a veteran. Now, his start in the NBA wasn't picture perfect. His first taste of summer league was a bit rough. There was a mix of rustiness, nerves, and clearly the long layoff after his college season had impacted him. He wasn't used to the faster pace, the stronger defenders, and his rhythm just wasn't there yet. Then, while he was trying to find his footing, he had to get thumb surgery in September, which forced him out to sit for a few weeks. But once he returned for the preseason and now the regular NBA season, it was like watching a completely different player. All that hype from draft night started to make sense. Harper looked composed, confident, and in control. He played with a maturity well beyond his years. In the limited minutes in preseason, he still averaged 10 points, 5.5 assists, and just 1 turnover per game. Now, those numbers might not jump off the page, and he's gotten significantly better numbers in the actual NBA. But what really stood out about him isn't just how much he was producing, it was how he was doing it. Because again, Harper plays with a calmness that's very rare for a 19-year-old. Usually younger guards coming into the NBA need some time to adjust to the tempo of games. But this guy, even when defenders swarm him, he doesn't force bad shots or panic. He stays composed, scans the floor, and finds the open teammate. The Spurs offense just flows a lot better when he's on the court. The other thing is that Harper's driving style really sets him apart. He doesn't just bulldoze his way to the rim. He actually reads the angles of the defenders. He slows down at the right moments, and he uses his body to control contact. It's very smooth when you watch him play, and all of his moves, they're very deliberate. Most rookie guards come in playing too fast, or they try and prove something about themselves on every possession. Harper does the exact opposite. He actually dictates the tempo. That ability to carve out space and stay composed under pressure is why coaches and scouts love them. It's the kind of skill that usually takes years to develop. I mean, some guards still don't have that skill, yet Harper already has it. You can tell he's been around the game his whole life. There's a maturity to the way he handles the ball, sets up his teammates, and balances scoring with playmaking. Now, of course, it's still early, but it's very clear that he's got that Spurs DNA. He makes unselfish plays, he makes the smart decisions on the ball, and he has a team-first attitude. Every time he steps on the floor, the game seems to slow down for him, and that's the exact kind of trait that separates a solid rookie from a future star. The other thing is that he's building his chemistry with Wemby very fast. It's why everybody felt that Dylan Harper was such a perfect fit for the Spurs. Because when he's running the offense, Wemby's whole game feels a lot smoother. He doesn't have to do everything himself anymore. And finally, unlike his rookie year, Wemby's actually getting touches on the ball. Instead of standing all the way out at the three-point line and trying to create off the dribble, he can move more freely. He can cut, he can post up, he can basically go wherever he wants because he knows that Harper will help set things up. It's taken a lot of pressure off of Wemby because he doesn't have to constantly initiate plays. Ever since Harper came back from his thumb injury, you can see the difference on the court. It's night and day. Wemby's attacking the basket more, he's drawing more fouls, and he's playing with more confidence. He can now attack the paint more and get free throws because Harper's presence gives him that freedom. Knowing someone is out there who understands your timing, spacing, and when to deliver the ball is so invaluable. What makes Harper special, like I said, isn't the flashiness or the highlight passes. It's the control he plays with. Having a guard who doesn't force things, who doesn't need to dominate possessions, is so good for the rest of the team. Harper actually reads the game and figures out where the defense is weak, and he puts his teammates in the right spot. It's that kind of steady presence that makes everyone else around him better. It elevates the floor of this Spurs team, and for Spurs fans, this is something they haven't truly seen in a while. Sure, Chris Paul offered it a little bit last year, but it's different when that point guard play is actually leading to winning basketball. Coach Mitch Johnson summed it up perfectly. He said that Dylan Harper's got a knack for making the right play, and that's something that you can't always teach. Harper brings intelligence and unselfishness, and that's allowed the Spurs to get the most out of Wemby as well. Of course, we're still very early in the season, but the connection between the two feels natural. One is creating space, the other is able to fill it. And if this is what their chemistry looks so early in the season, imagine what it will be come April and May. What struck Harper the most about joining San Antonio wasn't the system, it was actually the people. The family atmosphere here is real, he said after visiting the facility. He was talking about how he would just work out and then see Tim Duncan, Pop, and Manu Ginobili just hanging around. He understood that that doesn't happen everywhere else. The culture has always been the Spurs' secret weapon. It's why Popovich still preaches patience and why Harper fits in so naturally. They want guys who don't chase headlines, and Dylan Harper is exactly that. He's more focused on studying film, asking questions, and playing within the flow of a system. It's great to see because for years, San Antonio fans had been told to trust the process. Now it feels like the process is actually leading to something. With Harper and Wemby, the Spurs don't just have young stars, they have a good foundation. One is a 7'5" defensive nightmare who can score from anywhere. The other is a 6'6" floor general with elite instincts. Together, these two could define the next era of Spurs basketball. Now, the Spurs aren't talking championships yet, but the optimism is very real. Harper's arrival has brought back something that's been missing in San Antonio essentially since the Big Three era ended, and that's belief. It's crazy that a 19-year-old rookie can help provide so much optimism to an institution as big as the San Antonio Spurs. Now, Wemby and Harper are not the only good players on this team. The whole squad is looking scary. To see how good the new San Antonio Spurs are, you have to check out this video right here.